I'm Ryan Chilcote. Russia's been a home to me for more than 2 decades, from the fall of communism to the rise of Russia's rich. Forget the Russia you know. I'm going to show you the Russia you don't. My Russia.
Ahead on the show, Comrade Cowboys. American cattlemen fight to keep their way of life thousands of miles from home, hoping the wide-open spaces of Russia will be their new frontier.
Look at the abundant resources, waist-high grass, available water, and the simple question of, can we raise beef cattle here? Well, there's absolutely no question that there is.
It's time to move the cattle to greener pastures, and the cowboys are on the move. This is an old-fashioned cattle drive. Cowboys and quarter horses born and bred in America, taking place in big sky country with grazing lands as far as the eye can see. But this isn't the American West, this is Russia. And that man, tall in the saddle, is Darrell Stevenson.
Let's go.
One of America's real cowboys from the state of Montana. He's brought his herd to Russia and started a ranch. Some days, he almost forgets where he is. Does this feel like Montana?
Today? Yeah. This isn't much different than home at all. Our crew's working. Everybody knows their job. We're working with cows. It smells like manure. This isn't any different than home.
Stevenson's story begins in the winter of 2010. Russia's president has just signed an executive order known as the Food Security Doctrine. The world's largest country imports close to half of its beef. The Kremlin wants to change that with Russian beef for the Russian people. To kickstart the cattle drive, the government is pouring money into a program to build Russia's first generation of ranches.
The Russian government is really pushing and even providing some incentive to use those barren pieces of ground to start putting into production. I mean, this is a nation that should be 100% self-sufficient, and they're relying on a high percentage of imports. It's ridiculous, and they realize it.
Darrell was then approached by some Russian cattlemen. They put up the money, about $20 million. Darrell brings the know-how of a family with 4 generations of experience.
Second crop or spring crop weddings here should.
Is Russia the new frontier for the American cowboy?
I think in terms of worldwide beef production, I've had many opportunities to travel several areas of the world. There's just not as many opportunities elsewhere.
Opportunity. It's one of Darrell's favorite words. He may be a cowboy, but he is not cavalier when it comes to money.
When you borrow, what's the interest rate?
After subsidization, it would be 1%.
1%?
Yes.
In a country where inflation is above 8, above 9, effectively the government is giving you free money.
From an American perspective, yes. From a Russian perspective, they're investing in their future.
And when it comes to the future, the only thing better than cheap money is cheap land.
So how much is an acre here in Russia?
This ground was purchased for less than $150 an acre, and this soil type, organic matter, same quality, would be worth closer to $5,000 an acre.
One other difference. In America, there's one beef cow for every family. In Russia, where there are plenty of dairy cows, there's but one beef cow for every 237 people. Darrell's task is to build a herd of the world's finest beef cow, the American Black Angus.
So the American Black Angus versus the Russian Bull.
Genetically, there's a lot of things that just have an advantage. These bulls, like I said, are bred for their overall predictability, flushing ability.
It's just no competition.
Darrell's first big job was getting his herd from Montana to southern Russia. 550 cows and 5 of his finest quarter horses went on a cargo ship. En route, Wilmington, Delaware, to Novorossiysk, Russia. The rest of the herd, close to another 900 cows, were flown over on 6 747s from Chicago to Moscow. That's not to say it didn't go off without a hitch. Cows, even well-traveled cows, are still cows.
Airport have been treated to ringside seats at a real-life bullfight. Airport staff chased an escaped bull around the runway for some 20 minutes last night. The beast had come in on an air bridge cargo plane. It broke
Without much commotion, a cow simply saw an opening and stepped out onto the tarmac and was actually running loose at the largest airport in Russia for over 45 minutes, consequently stopping all passenger traffic being diverted to other airports or putting them in holding patterns.
Rogue cow.
Yeah, that made international news.
Coming up next, Darrell plays the Pied Piper for ranchers from down under.
I don't think there's too many people would have the guts or the balls to do it.
When one of America's most revered cowboys starts a ranch in Russia, it's going to attract attention.
I want a middle of the road for size, not too big, not too small. I know who I'm talking to here, and so
including a steady stream of cattlemen from around the world.
I actually do believe that I call on foot and pastern structure as hard as anybody in the country.
Today, Darrell's hosting a delegation from Australia.
Previous to this sale, I would have had close to a 30% call rate per year on our cow base.
We're here 23 days.
Is it 23? Watching Darrell reminds me, in a good way, the Pied Piper. He's a cowboy, but also a businessman. When he speaks, people listen.
If it's open range, the rancher's not responsible.
Darrell's got the intestinal fortitude to come over here, you know, and this is the first time I've met the guy. I heard him speak, and he's inspired me, you know.
What Darrell's got here is a 50-year projection out. And, you know, there's very few people you'll meet in your lifetime that actually think that far out. I don't think there's too many people would have the guts or the balls to do it. Yeah, I think what we got here is a pretty unique chap.
Take it right. This will actually drop right down into the village of Shestakova.
Darrell is leading his visitors down a road less traveled.
That overpass is built specifically for us. That'll be an adventure.
The gang from Australia love getting off the beaten path and are treated to the simple and unchanged beauty of the Russian countryside.
Over there, big group of cows is going to be off to the south.
Even today, many Russian villages look as they must have a century ago, frozen in time since the days of Chekhov.
Bill, have you got anything smaller? 28 rubles we need. That's 20.
Darrell unleashes his guests in the village store.
It's exciting times in the village of Shestakova. It's quite a stir.
We have these street stalls on Friday.
No cash register here. That's an abacus, still a common sight in rural Russia.
So what's going on here?
We're stimulating the local economy.
You think they've ever seen anything like that?
I think this is probably the heaviest traffic that they've seen in a while.
Another request for Darrell's expertise comes in. This time, he's visiting with some local ranchers at an abandoned collective farm. A monument to the disaster that was Soviet agriculture.
It's black soil. I think it's harder. I've always asked the same question. You can look around the area and look at the abundant resources, waist-high grass, available water, and the simple question of, can we raise beef cattle here? Well, there's absolutely no question that there is.
But Darrell isn't a tour guide, and he's certainly not a tourist. He's a cowboy, and it's time to get his hands dirty. Darrell doesn't care much for the limelight. Still, he understands the importance of what he's trying to pull off.
I'm in a position that nobody else has really been in. I have nobody to reference questions to. Nothing similar to this has really ever been attempted at this magnitude or with these aspirations.
Where is it going to lead to?
What we're doing today is absolutely tip of the iceberg.
One of a cowboy's dirtiest jobs, and certainly least glamorous, you've never seen this in a Hollywood movie, is called AI, for artificial insemination. The cowboy today needs to multitask.
This semen was collected, frozen, and shipped from origin from Billings, Montana. There's no doubt that in time we will be collecting and freezing semen here. However, in the meantime, we'll rely on the marketplaces and the performance systems of what's working at home.
AI is crucial. An AI-sired cow's value can triple depending on its genetics. Darrell's hands are also from Montana. They're here to care for the herd and teach the Russians a cowboy's way of life.
Let's go, girls. Nice job, Ryan.
I went from horsemanship 101, taught them how to saddle, taught them how to brush out a horse, how to care for them. If you can't keep them alive, you can't ride them. These horses have been honed for 150, 200 years worth of breeding. They have cow inside of them.
Katya Zimina has certainly learned from the cowboys. She's a vet, translator, cowgirl.
First I heard about this project, I thought it's impossible to do. I mean, I thought it's not going to work. And we sent the first plane, that was the first load. First plane took off in Chicago. We were driving back from the airport. I said, Darrell, you know, I can't believe I'm here and I see the plane with the cows taking off from Chicago to go to Moscow. I can't believe still.
It's been dry in the south of Russia, and a welcome rain comes to the ranch. A blessing from Mother Nature, and perhaps a promising sign that one cowboy's crazy dream to build a ranch in Russia might just come true.
Coming up, from Moscow to Montana, the 7,000-mile commute home.
While Darrell Stevenson sets up his ranch in Russia, he's still responsible for the family ranch back home. Established by his great-grandfather, Stevenson Angus is one of the legendary names in American beef. Darrell plans to keep it that way. The two ranches actually need one another.
Dad's at an age right now that, he's 64 years old, would like to get in the position so that he could start slowing down. By having the ability to market this many head of cattle, it instantly gave me an opportunity in Russia. It instantly gave me an opportunity to my brother at home, who went out and instantly bought more cows to put on the empty fields at home. It really freed us as a family enterprise up to really move forward generationally.
The next generation is Darrell's two kids.
I am certain that I'm building a better opportunity for them.
Darrell Stevenson's kids are going to be ranchers in Russia?
I'll give them that opportunity. That'll be their own decision.
It's about 7,000 miles and 11 time zones from Shestakova to Montana.
Cold dark water was the best for me. It carried me through the night. I wasn't stopped. Seats are free, I said.
Darrell's made the round trip 8 times in the past 18 months. This time, he and right-hand man Wayne Walter are taking a 12-hour train to Moscow.
Spasibo.
There, they'll fly to New York and then on home.
How long does it take to get from the ranch in Russia back home to Montana?
Ranch to ranch, typical travel time would probably average 40 hours.
40 hours.
No shorter than 32. It's taken as long as 92 hours. I just simply have to view it as commute to work.
First leg down, we're in the Russian capital. Living standards in Moscow have been rising for years. Up until now, Americans ate about twice as much beef as Russians, but that's beginning to change. Moscovites want steak and have the money to pay for it. Darrell, Wayne, and I went to sample Goodman's, one of the best steakhouses in Moscow. We order ribeyes, and yes, they're expensive.
That's my favorite kind of meat.
About $50 each. Most of the beef in Goodman's is from Australia, which is not a surprise to Darrell. Cold War politics, he says, have kept U.S. exporters out of Russia for years. It's time, he says, for Americans to catch up. Darrell gives the steakhouse and his rival's beef a high grade.
Well, I think this is outstanding. This is my first time, essentially, in a steakhouse in Russia. And preparation, atmosphere, everything was very similar to what we work with at home.
St. Basil's Cathedral was built in the 1550s on the order of Ivan the Terrible. There's nothing like it anywhere in the world. I've seen it a million times, and I'm still dazzled by its beauty. I'm also a little dazzled by the appearance of cowboys in front of it. Sightseeing is unusual for Darrell, but he wants to show Wayne a bit of Moscow after all that time stuck on a ranch. But they're both anxious and ready for a break from Russia. The beef industry may be new in Russia, but in Montana, it's a way of life. Welcome to Hobson, Darrell's hometown and the heart of cattle country.
Hello, folks. This is Lyle Allen reporting from the Lewistown Livestock Auction right here in the heart of central Montana. It is sale day tomorrow. We're going to wrap up our August marketing.
Oh, say, can you see?
You know it's a big day at the ranch when Darrell's daughter Claire sings the national anthem, about the only time the cowboy hats come off. The Stevenson Angus annual bull auction is the oldest in Montana, and it's a major event in the cattle industry. Big-time cattlemen in America keep one eye on Darrell's bulls and the other on his Russian adventure. They're hoping the trail he blazes is one they, too, can follow.
You know, we're all very appreciative and grateful for the work that Stevensons have done. You know, I think it's a unique opportunity, and I think you're going to see what they've done in Russia be modeled into other countries.
Despite the success of the auction, all is not roses for American cattlemen. Costs are soaring, up by 1/5 over the past 5 years. While improved genetics mean a more productive cow, demand for beef has declined in the States. Today, the nation's herd stands at a 60-year low.
I'm getting interest from fellow Americans and cowboys to follow me overseas because it does give them an opportunity to have that American spirit and actually go out and have some opportunities that they're limited with here at home.
But when the biggest cattleman in a small town moves half his herd to Russia, well, there's bound to be some gossip and teasing. Darrell's wife, Sarah, has heard her share of jokes.
There are people around here that refer to Darrell as the comrade.
Comrade cowboy, you might say.
They'll say, hey, are you marrying a Russian man yet? And I said, well, I think he's mostly Russian right now. but we're already married, so it's not like I'm importing a husband as opposed to importing a Russian bride.
Obviously, when you get 3 or
The multi-million-dollar question here is where the ranch in Russia will be in 10 years from now. Darrell intends to be a Montana-based consultant for many years, but the ranch and the future of the ranch is now in the hands of the Russians.
Although I'm not physically standing here, I will be in communication daily with the oversight of this operation.
You reckon the whole thing could be in shambles in a couple of years?
No.
I first met Darrell during calving season, shortly after he brought the cows over. He's the first real cowboy I've ever met, and over our many days together, I've gotten to know him pretty well. He's a confident man, used to success.
This business that we're operating here wouldn't be a lot different than the risk that we take at home. So if you're scared, don't get out of bed in the morning.
But I also know Russia. This is a land of abandoned projects, where Western investors are sometimes brought in only to be driven out. In many Russians, there's a stubborn pride. A pride in doing things their own way. And in our last conversation on the ranch, answering my final question, Darrell for the first time utters the F word for failure.
You think this is a chance-in-a-lifetime kind of thing?
You took the words right out of my dad's mouth. He came over here with a trip with me, and on the return home, he said, in my lifetime, my dad's lifetime, my granddad's lifetime, I don't think that any one of us saw this kind of an opportunity. And made the comment that he'd rather see me fail trying than not to attempt at all.
The American cowboy is one of the world's great and enduring icons. Part of the lore is that they're dreamers, independent free spirits, restless men in search of new frontiers. Russia may be a new frontier for America's cowboys, or it may just be a dream.